Let's try this again. So I do want to keep the Twitch window up, but I have not only have I done a full reset of the computer, I've pretty much turned off everything but my bad. Now I've turned off everything but GOG, barring a couple of like background processes, which I don't know. I don't want to. There's a couple things I'm happy to keep up, but so I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do if the preview shows stuttering again. I'll maybe try and play through it for a little bit.
Welcome to Info Flash. Say, did y'all lose power yesterday too?
I mean, I don't love it, but we'll try and make do and then see.
Mitch, you hear me?
Yep. But more driving, less talking.
I don't know. We'll give it a shot. I'll maybe have to consider this in terms of future games, but
wind in my hair. Perfect.
Oh, hey. Haven't seen you in a while.
Not a fan of funerals.
Yeah, you and death don't really mix.
Say that like it's my fault. Never asked Saburo to put me on that fucking chip, or for you to slot it in your head.
I hope this place isn't too far.
Speaking of, where are we going?
Not a clue.
My, what a good little Boy Scout. So trusting, so accommodating.
It's for Scorpion. His last wish or something. Is that good enough for you?
Great. Never a dull moment.
So the fact that there's a bit of a pause before the reply and the Boy Scout line makes me think that there's probably a different makes me think there's a different line here. I also didn't smash into the guy when I started the stream first, but
Here we are. Go ahead, kill the engine.
yeah, there's definitely a couple skips. More than a couple skips. Let's see if there's one more thing I can. Well, okay, here's one thing I can try. Okay, I think that's all the stuff I can kill on OBS. And then I'm also just wondering if there's something about priority that I can change here. Sorry to do the maintenance on the in the middle of the stream, but I think there's one more thing I can try, but let's see how this goes. Yeah, I don't like that either. Okay.
We set him up behind the wheel, douse the car, then light it, let him fly off the edge.
I mean, if that's what Scorpion wanted.
He did. Said it 1,000,000 times if he said it at all. Grab me that can, will you?
Here you go.
Great. Go ahead. Put it in the passenger seat.
I see the driver is already behind the wheel.
No point wasting time. Another hour or two, and he'll puff up like a balloon. Right. Shall we get this show on the road?
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. I already got a rag in the can. You light it. I'll start the car.
Okay, sorry, this is really starting to bug me now. Let me see one more thing. I may have to call it if this is going to be what it looks like. So I'm just taking a minute here to look at the video for the stream, and I noticed like a couple of skips, but it's not nearly as bad as what the preview is implying. So I do apologize for all the time spent on maintenance. I kind of feel like I'm going crazy, to be honest. But does mean I can keep streaming. And I will stop I'll stop letting it bug me.
She's burning! Quick, before she blows!
May the road be kind to you, friend. Out with a bang. Just like he wanted. Soot and ash. That much remains. So, how about a beer?
No thanks. Rather keep things sober.
All right, my city chum. Everyone grieves their own way. Ah, nothing like a good cold one.
If you say so. Hey, speaking of, where'd that nickname come from? Scorpion.
Funny. You know, I haven't the slightest idea. Never asked him.
He is Scorpio or something?
Maybe he had a big stinger. Scorpion, you old bastard. I'm gonna miss you, man.
Mitch, why me? Why'd you ask me to help?
You seem like a good egg.
I'm serious.
I don't know, I guess the fact that I'm still here to send him off right. That's thanks to you. Your paths crossed. Just for a moment. But damn, was it the right one? Listen, there's a few things of his you ought to have. Like this little good luck charm. Go on, it's yours.
What is it?
Not a clue. Scorpion always had it on him, no idea why. Listen, I'm gonna sit here for a while, all right? Brood in peace.
Understood. I'll be off then.
Sure. Listen, if you want, you can take my car back to camp. Whatever works for you. Oh, and, thanks, V. For today. And for getting me out of that shit back then, too. You're all right. You're really all right.
I'm sure some of you may remember Outworld. I'd occasionally host him. He seems to have stopped streaming, which is always... I know that's always a tough one for fans of interesting. Oh, here we go. It's always a tough one for sort of fans of a streamer, right? Because I've said this before, like in the grand scheme of things, you know there will be a last stream at some point. Doesn't mean that you want it to be the case, or you know, or that you'll make an effort to hasten it. But you know, as a practical matter, there's got to be a point where these, you know, it just doesn't make. It either doesn't make sense to continue streaming, or you're just physically incapable of it. But in any case, he was someone actually I kind of knew on the platform for a while. He was one of the first people I met in terms of streaming. And huge Mortal Kombat fan, as you may guess from the name. So I do remember showing him the image. I don't think he rated Cyberpunk that much, but I do know he was quite into the Scorpion references. So I will confess, it's one thing I never felt too great about for this game. Like I always feel that this game's at its strongest when it stands on its own. And I always found... Now, this may be because I haven't really played The Witcher 3, which people, you know, clearly regard very, very highly. But I always felt like the Witcher references, so, you know, like Nilfgaard and... Well, obviously I like playing a lot of Roach Racer, but the seemingly incessant reminder that this is by the people who made The Witcher 3... You know, it comes off as a little bit desperate to me, if I'm completely honest. It's like they feel that they, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 isn't good enough on its own. They need to remember, it's like, hey guys, remember when, you know, it's, you know, actually it's like a friend who maybe did something that was admittedly cool once, but hasn't delivered anything like recently and is constantly reminding you of this past glory. And again, like maybe if I played and loved The Witcher as much as, you know, the real gamers TM, I would maybe be a little more sympathetic to this stuff, but I'll confess, like, I quite like Cyberpunk, and I've always actually rather liked Cyberpunk as soon as I played it, which is an uncomfortable place to be when I had a degree of skepticism about it leading up. Yeah, I don't know, like, that was one. And then the gamer references, I find, like, some of them can be, hey V, got a job for you if you're interested. A car was stolen from the NCPD. The twist, it's not a police cruiser. It's a blazing red Yabiya Semimaru. Only one of its kind at NC. Hard to miss, harder to catch. You got time to chase it down? Clapping from the NCPD? Damn, gotta respect the courage. Of course you do. One thing that's been bothering me. Some people at the NCPD have been interested in that car. Unusually so. Gut tells me they're hiding something. Got a bad feeling. Hope I'm wrong, but for peace of mind, when you get your hands on that car, need you to jack in and search for anything of note. Need you on this one, V. What do you say? Can't say no when it's you asking. Or, nah, you know, cream car, high-speed thrills, music to my ears. I'm in. Great. The Semimaru was last reported driving at dangerous speed on the main highway, headed towards Watson, sending you the location. Give me a buzz once you have an update. And good luck out there. But yeah, so anyways, I might as well, while I'm in the messages, finish the thought. But yeah, so the Witcher 3 stuff, again, I'll acknowledge that maybe if I played The Witcher 3, I would feel a little warmer to it. I have my doubts, but, you know, it may just be that I'm not appropriately recognizing the this textures on the ground, by the way. I never really noticed them before. They're very detailed and they look good. But yeah, this may just be me, you know, when there's an in-joke or a reference or something like that, you know, I may just be feeling alienated and you know, and not or alienated may be the wrong term, but like, you know, it just might be the case that I would appreciate these more if I'd played the game and I felt that those references were more for me. I kind of have my doubts on it, but I can't deny the possibility. But what I have played is Portal 2. And, you know, the GLaDOS references with the Delamain mission. I actually really liked that Delamain mission, and I always felt that the GLaDOS thing was the lowest point of it. And again, it's just because it very much comes off as, hello, fellow gamers. You know, I'm not secure enough in telling my own story. I'm going to make sure that you know that I know you're playing. Whereas, you know, there's like little in-game references to clearly Half-Life 3. And that one I actually feel a little more comfortable with because, you know, you've kind of already taken some time out of the game to, you know, to read a piece of text. And sure, it's not quite the same as quoting a section from the Iliad that has sort of a, you know, an echo back to Dexter Deshawn, but it's, you know, that one I sort of feel like, at least in this case here, you've accepted that that's a little part of the game where you're putting the gamey part on hold and you're sort of drinking in the atmosphere. And so, you know, for the same reason that sometimes it's fun to do a crossword puzzle, or, you know, maybe you read a book of jokes. Like, I don't really have like a book of jokes, but I know there are like, you know, I go to bookstores a lot. There's always a humor section. It's like a bunch of comedians and then books of jokes. So, you know, like that's, I think that's maybe why I feel a little more comfortable with it. But yeah, the gamer references, I've always just felt, I felt if the game maybe committed a bit more to the poser gangs and stuff like that, it would maybe feel a bit less out of place. But they definitely feel, like I said, it really strikes to me as a game that's not confident with its own accomplishments, and instead sort of needs to pander. And I actually can't think of a less Cyberpunk 2020 attitude, right? Like you go in, you define your own style, you don't care what anybody else thinks. Like that's, I guess, to a certain degree, like what being cool is about. I realize this is like the worst possible thing for me to talk about, some nerdy, guy play an adult playing games on the internet for a tiny audience is about to tell all of you what being cool is about. But like, I would take as an example, right? You've got Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl halftime show wearing clearly women's jeans, right? And I say this because, I know this because I am not as cool as Kendrick Lamar. I have, due to like just sizing, have had to wear women's jeans before. You can totally tell them what they are. I do not wear them as well as he does, although, like obviously I bought them. But like, if you know and you notice, like I definitely saw a few people trying to criticize the choice. But the thing is that he's a guy who can pull it off. He has the social capital to do so. He's got, the style, and the guy's doing a halftime show, for crying out loud. Like, you are given a bit more leeway, let's say, on certain choices. So like, if Kendrick Lamar can wear women's jeans in a Super Bowl halftime performance, I'm willing to guess that Cyberpunk 2077, with Keanu Reeves and a massive, one might even argue, arrogant marketing campaign, can afford to not pander to the gamers. So, whereas again, if it was a poser gang thing, something that's actually within the setting, and the game had committed a little bit more to those ideas, then it would have actually it would have sort of felt consistent with the universe, right? But they for one reason or another, and you probably don't want to have like everything thrown against the wall, so it's probably the right decision that they didn't go too far down the poser gang side. It's just because like you have a lot of stuff to explain. Actually, an analogy I can draw, it's a long way of getting to this analogy, but I'm in rant mode, so I'm gonna stick with it. I saw Hamilton while I was in the UK. I quite liked it, although it's a little weird to watch a play about the American Revolution in London. But quite liked the musical. Certainly understand why it was the cultural phenomena that it was, when it first came out. And I overall really liked the direction that they went with it. And yet I thought one thing that was a potentially interesting avenue that didn't really get followed as much is the rivalry that's set up with Thomas Jefferson, which is in there. But I felt that they could have done a little bit more in terms of Jefferson as like an anti-Hamilton. Because like Jefferson, I mean, Christopher Hitchens' biography of Jefferson is called Author of America, which is kind of all you need to know, right? And if you consider all of the traits that Hamilton has in the musical, Alexander Hamilton has in the musical, they are very much related to his ability as a writer. And in fact, it's also the highs and lows of his, of his career, right? He feels that, his pen will be what gets him out of the trouble with the affair, when in fact it's the thing that really causes him to, hit on hard times and create this rift within his family. And there's some really great choices that they make in terms of Thomas Jefferson inside of that play. So there's he's delightfully flamboyant, at least in the production that I saw, which I don't think was that far off from the original production. I haven't seen that, obviously, so I couldn't say for sure, but the one thing that So again, the Hamilton's writing is the thing. It's what he does well. It's what gives him an edge, but also proves to be sort of his downfall in a certain way. Maybe not exclusively, but definitely causes him to fall on hard times. So, certainly a convention that you see in lots of plays before it, particularly ones dealing with misfortune befalling the otherwise admirable man. But as cool as the rap battles were for the cabinet, I definitely felt that there was room for Thomas Jefferson to be set up as, an equally gifted writer on the opposing side. But and actually, I think a really great portrayal of this side of Jefferson is in the HBO miniseries John Adams. There's this really great sequence with Ben Franklin, who's played by Tom Wilkinson, and Paul Giamatti, who's playing John Adams. And they're going over the Declaration of Independence. And the nerves and sort of unease that it was Stephen Delane who played Jefferson. I quite like him as an actor, although probably the least known out of those three names that I put out there. He does such a good job of it. There's actually a clip of it on YouTube that you can find. But he does a really good job. And again, maybe I have some sympathy for this angle just because I'm a writer. But the thing is, Lin-Manuel Miranda is a writer. I'm definitely a better writer than I am. So I think he's fully aware of this stuff. And I definitely think that's why some of Hamilton's writing abilities are highlighted in that play. But yeah, that side of Jefferson I know is interesting because it's been the subject of books, and it's been an angle that's been really effectively portrayed in the John Adams series. But the one reason why I can't really say that not exploring that side of Jefferson is a criticism of Hamilton is I also reflect on how much time it takes to set that up. If you set up Jefferson as a political opponent, that's already in the play, and you can see how effectively they do it. But to set up Jefferson as the rival writer, the question is, which of these musical numbers that you really like do you give up to establish that? And is the play better or worse for it? And in general, I'd say probably worse for it. So anyways, with all of that in mind, right, that's kind of my not really critique of Hamilton, but one of the things that I sort of felt was something with potential that wasn't explored, but I understand why it wasn't explored. Likewise, the poser gangs in Cyberpunk, they're definitely a part of the setting, actually an interesting part of the setting. I think there's something to be said for the cyberpunk world and these ideas of gangs that are defined largely through their relation or their emulation of pop culture. But in the context of, admittedly an open world game with lots of things to do, an almost theme park sort of setting, but the story of Johnny Silverhand and V, and trying to stop what's happening to you, and all of these related characters, where do the poser gangs come in? How do you fit that in there? What thing do you give up in order to establish them? Or do they serve the story as portrayed here? And I don't know, I kind of feel like, the people in clouds, you can connect that to Judy, and that's maybe a little bit more interesting. At the very least, you sort of establish that relationship with I suppose in any other story, the femme fatale, right? So yeah, it's probably just as well that they didn't include that stuff. But I would say that the gamer references probably would have been better. So had they included them, the gamer references actually would have worked better inside that setting. So if you have to have them in there, I sort of feel like that, the poser gangs would have been the best way to do it. As it is, they just sort of stick out. They stick out as something that didn't need to be there. It's actually the more concise example I can give of this in my own writing. I like making a lot of parenthetical remarks. It's a little bit like my speaking style. And it's like, obviously I wrote them so I think they're clever. But when I sit down and I edit and I sort of say, is this serving the article? Most of the time the answer is no, and I get rid of it. If it's an email, I don't always proofread the emails, so I don't go through. But that's kind of, that's how I feel about them. It's like, it's one of those things where if you do another pass, it's like, yeah, maybe we don't need to include it. And I guess if you pay someone for, the voice acting, it's a little bit harder to, to justify getting rid of it. Anyways, you've been patient enough with me. I've got a big list of things to do. I'm going to take a look at this one first. Right. I actually want to reload that. Hey, Revive Snow. Sorry for the rant. Very good to see you, though. How are you doing tonight? Very, I feel like that's a problem that may come up a little bit more in your city.
Hey, got a client. Well, actually, it's just Nancy's son who's looking to get back something that was stolen. And, yeah, that Nancy. The one who punched Keys in Samurai. Oh, one more thing. If you could recover this gong's wheels too, that'd be real nice. So, you in? If so, find the details attached.
Hello, Baron Snugs. Oh, that's really interesting. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have streamed at least once, maybe with the motorcycle helmet on. I feel like I've seen, and maybe it was just like a different VTuber avatar that I didn't realize, but I always thought that was just like a costume. But that's actually really fun. I probably don't have the courage to be on a bike, a motorbike, especially after getting hit by a car. Are you sure? Have you not? Huh. I could have sworn there was something on stream. Maybe you were showing the picture on stream or that, but anyways, that's cool. So now I have at least one detail. I will, if I ever visit Toronto, I will see all of the people on motorbikes and say, that's Revive Snow. And I'll ask every single one of them for an autograph. I'm sure they'll react well to that. But yeah, especially, this is getting hit by the car. I don't think I have the courage to be on a motorbike. Okay, gig type search and recover, rare bootleg, samurai recording, parking lot on Crockett Street. There's an old saying, if it wasn't for fools, there would be no sages. The same is true for fixers. The fool who needs your help is a man named Dan. Dan has a gambling problem. Lately, he managed to lose his car in a game of cards. To tell the truth, the ride's no great loss or anything. This guy isn't short on cars. What was valuable, however, was the one-of-a-kind bootleg samurai recording stowed in the trunk. How did our fool come into possession of it, you ask? Well, he's Nancy's son. Same Nancy who played keyboard for the band. In the days when the snot-nosed boy used to call me Auntie. He'll get that album for me. Gut tells me they haven't pawned it off just yet. It's probably still stashed somewhere around the place. And if you can swing it, grab Dan's car too for a little bonus. I'll snap you the coordinates of the guy holding the goods. And be aware he licks the boots of the 6th Street gang, so expect to deal with another fool. A stubborn one. Anyways, for those of you who do not know, Revive Snow is a wonderful Canadian broadcaster. Uh-oh. This mission is cursed. Just a little. It was crazy when I saw my... It's actually not letting me back in on GOG. This will probably resolve itself in a minute, but it was absolutely nuts when I saw the frame rate go to 7 on OBS. In GOG? Or sorry, in Cyberpunk? By the way, did you notice that Unity Technologies has a credit inside there? I'm actually really curious what they provided for Cyberpunk 2077. I also know Unity provided
Hey, everyone, welcome to Info Flash.
provided I think it was server or like matchmaking or server space or something like that for what was it? Apex Legends. Wide open road, dirt, sand, mountains. It ain't much, but still one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my life. Thank you. If you ever need anything, you know where to find us. Here you go, Snow. We'll avoid the ticket.
Hey, got a client. Well, actually, it's just Nancy's son who's looking to get back something that was stolen. And, yeah, that Nancy. The one who punched keys in Samurai. Oh, one more thing. If you could recover this Gaunt's wheels too, that'd be real nice. So, you in? If so, find the details attached.
Right. Let's see if I can do a little bit better than my usual performance. I will also say the last thing that I saw Revive Snow play, which doesn't necessarily mean that this was the last thing that Revive Snow was playing, was Space Marine 2. And this is meaningful for me because I saw on Business Insider there was a as an art like I'm hit or miss on Business Insider. There's like a few times there's been reporting that I kind of like, and then there's a whole lot of like, I really wish I didn't waste time clicking on this article kind of reporting. All right. I mean, that's not a bad start. But yeah, so this is like some HR, or I don't know, I think it's supposed to be like CEO of a fintech firm or whatever. Again, like I'm assuming half of these people who are interviewed are effectively running some kind of small business, but are reasonably savvy at like getting people to pay attention to them. I don't know, maybe that's unkind, but but anyways, there was this, like the article went something to the effect of, you know, I treat job interviews like first dates. Like they should only ask like 6.5 minutes. And I was like, 6.5 minutes for a first date? Like, how am I supposed to explain all the Warhammer 40k lore in 6.5 minutes? Space King 2, yeah. But yeah, in any case, this is why I watch the Revive Snow stream, so I can learn how to explain Warhammer 40k lore in 6.5 minutes or less. Too much reading, holy. Have you ever visited one of the like Warhammer 40k wikis? Because like I'll confess, like I do find some of the material compelling. Like I'm absolutely the intended audience for some of this stuff. Especially like I'm sort of reflecting on how I reacted to sort of the opening of Dawn of War 3, and you know the big dramatic music swelling up when Gabriel Angelos.
That gig blew my vocal cords out so hard I couldn't speak for a week.
Wow, man. That must have been fun to watch.
What, the gig?
No, you're not speaking for an entire week.
Oh crap. No wikis. I've been watching a bunch of these YouTube videos about life as a human in the Warhammer 40k universe, though. It doesn't sound like a good time. Yeah, I definitely avoid the YouTube videos, because then I'll just never get anything else from the algorithm. But in the case of Archive Conversation, Wyatt and Bobby. Yo, 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 Chooms. Got a sweet new ride. Need it pimped out and sold off quick. So get your gear ready. We're going to have to wipe the numbers? Nah, it's all legit. Won the thing playing cards off some gonk. Be there in an hour. Tell you the whole thing. Laters. But yeah, no, the reason why I mentioned the... the wikis is just Hey Cap, how's life? None of your fucking biz. What do you want? Got a ride to sell. Quadra, great condition, low miles, crash free. Not interested. Hey, you don't even know what I'm asking for it. Even free is too rich for me. You're a loser. You're a loser, Wyatt. I don't do biz with losers. User El Capitan has blocked you. Order 1242998. Dear sir, your order... Sorry, from the Crazy Car Corner to Wyatt Alkin. Dear sir, your order is ready for shipment. It includes alloy wheel set, 18 inches, LED skirts, 6 feet, rubber coating spray, 4 times, vinyl wrap, chrome, iCar cooling fan, ×5, ebony diamond grill. Estimated delivery time is 48 hours. Thank you for your business. Crazy Car Corner. Hey, we've read this before. But yeah, sorry. The reason why I mentioned the wiki stuff is just I remember, like, just generally I find the Warhammer 40k stuff is compelling. Like, it's definitely very like this is for young boys oriented, and you know I don't feel bad about that. I just kind of acknowledge the intended audience. I'm wondering if I can... Yeah, there we go. Sorry, let me just deal with this. But every time I want to like get into it, because I have played Warhammer Fantasy Battles, I just haven't played 40k. But when I want to know a little bit more, I'll go to one of these fandom wikis, and it feels like literally any topic that you click, like you will get something that feels like 80 printed pages worth. And I don't know, I have a certain respect for that level of nerdery, but I just don't have the time to read that much about, you know, the Shouty Men in Shoulder Pads universe. So it's like my gold standard of slightly insane wikis, which I am, you know, kind of in awe of, but also terrified by. Yeah, I'm sure there's at least one person in the world who has some sort of scholarly, like, recognition or project based around Warhammer 40k. It was actually kind of funny, though, because I was talking with someone about this, and they were trying to understand the appeal of Warhammer 40k. And what I'd originally done was I tried to relate it to some of the work that I know, like, they had done. And that maybe wasn't... that may not have been the right angle on it. You know, as a kind of a group conversation, but it was kind of fun because she sort of said, like, she finds masculinity fascinating, and like it's kind of like her hobby
I've got your
project.
bootlegs.
Huh? What bootlegs? What are you talking about?
The samurai concerts, the one you hired me to find.
Ooh, yeah, totally. Why didn't you say so? Shit, man, Shimura. Get the wheels too?
It's parked downstairs. Keys are in the ignition.
What? For real? That's fucking far out, Shum. I won't forget this.
Don't talk to me.
Great service.
A gig well done, V. Our client's satisfied not only to get his hands on that recording, but the wheels too. A satisfied client means a satisfied fixer. Hell, you should be satisfied too. Contract's closed, and payment's on its way.
Hey V, got a job for you if you're... Sorry, we'll get back to the 40K stuff in a minute. Got a job for you if you're interested. A car was stolen from the NCPD. The twist, it's not a police cruiser. It's a blazing red Yaiba Semimaru. Only one of its kind in NC. Hard to miss, harder to catch. You got time to chase it down? Clipping from the NCPD? Damn, gotta respect the courage. Of course you do. One thing that's been bothering me, some people at the NCPD have been interested in that car, and usually so. Gut tells me they're hiding something. Got a bad feeling. Hope I'm wrong, but for peace of mind, when you get your hands on that car, need you to jack in and search for anything of note. Need you on this one, V. What do you say? Preem car, high-speed thrills, music to my ears. I'm in. Great. The Semimaru was last reported driving at dangerous speeds on the main highway, headed towards Watson. Sending you the location. Give me a buzz once you have an update. And good luck out there. One last thing. There's a bonus waiting for you at the nearest drop point. Let's wrap these up in order. But yeah, so like one of the, I kind of feel this is a combination of there's something that the other participant in the conversation said that was, I definitely felt was a lot closer to the mark than what I had said. But I think also she sort of had this conclusion that, you know, it's very hard to be a man in the modern age. Like, you know, we don't go out and like fight a saber-toothed tiger or anything. Like, you know, you're just sort of sitting, punching an office job, you know, punching a clock at an office job. And so in that context, you know, a setting like Warhammer 40K where, you know, you're going in and doing like the very manly things and, you know, fighting this very clear sort of good versus evil sort of, you know, this fantasy would be very appealing in a circumstance like that. And like, I don't know, like it's definitely not something that I exactly reflect. Like, I don't know, like I'm not exactly macho, so I don't sort of sit down and reflect on, you know, the fact that maybe I should be like teaming up with a bunch of the guys and like taking out a woolly mammoth or something. But I was definitely very interested in that perspective. And I was like, yeah, actually, you know, this kind of at the very basic level kind of seems to make a certain sense. So, you know, now I found the appeal of Warhammer 40K. I'm not quite sure what the conclusion of that is, but I will also say too, like one of the really clear appeals, it's very big. Like it absolutely has no half measures. Although maybe what I should ask here is, do you feel manlier having played Space Marine 2 Revive Snow? Because I haven't played any of them. Maybe I would understand the distress of the modern man if I had spent more time in Warhammer 40k properties. Oh, actually, also in the UK, I was asked unironically for the first time, but you get why. Actually, that's a really good point, Revive Snow, because that's basically, it's very, very similar impulse behind it. This is wonderful. This is why I like talking with all of you. I get a better understanding of why things are popular. I really hope this gets better. There we go. It is tempting to go to the Paralysis apartment. All right, what are we looking at here? Yeah, I don't know. Let's go to the. I mean, I was definitely interested in it because when I saw it, it was definitely like it was clearly a very well-produced game. I'd never really played, at least at the time, I'd not really played a cover shooter before. So I mean, I kind of understood it in a Mass Effect kind of, or well, yeah, I guess it was Mass Effect 2 that I would have played, but like I sort of, I don't even know which number Gears of War it was, but I kind of understood it in the context of, this seems to be a game which is like that experience, but tailored to that experience. So it doesn't quite have the same sort of maybe frustration that I ran into with Gears of War. But the thing is, like, I'm also like, it's very funny because obviously, like, I can sit down and, you know, like I'll make a Chaucer joke or something, or, you know, like I'm always a little embarrassed because like I'm always reading, and like, I like diners. There's like a couple 24-hour diners within a decent walk of me. And so like sometimes, you know, I'll just get like a coffee and like maybe a sandwich or something like that. And I'll read and like just, you know, try not to, don't do anything I can to avoid a good night's sleep, you know? And, you know, and like, there's something kind of, I do actually, the one thing that it makes me feel good about, you know, even 2025 when we're all post-literate, right? I just kind of like the fact that people, when you see someone like focusing on a book, people just kind of reflexively want to know, like, what are you reading? And I love answering that question, but I also hate answering that question because I do feel like a little bit of an ass if I'm answering like, you know, I'm reading Geoffrey of Monmouth, right? Like, you know, because I'm going back to my old English texts. At least that one, you know, I get to say it's like, you know, if you like King Arthur and stuff like that, I'm reading some of the like the early foundational, like the stuff that became the King Arthur legends that we, you know, that we know now. And like usually the reaction's like, that sounds really cool. And I'm like, it is kind of cool. So, you know, at least in that case. But like, I don't know, if I was reading like James Joyce or something like that, it'd be like, hey, I'm reading something. I'm reading smart person book. Like, I don't know. I'd feel a little. I do sometimes feel a little silly, like to say. I'm definitely one of these. You know, I fit a certain stereotype, let's say. But with that in mind, like I still do very much enjoy like action movies, and I do not feel that there needs to be a motivation beyond like the bad guys are over there, let's go take out the bad guys, or you know, we're going to do a car chase now. I do still feel like I'm with William Goldman on the idea that there's this like old movie, The Rock, with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage in it. And like William Goldman was talking about watching this, and like the car chase, which is a fine car chase, by the way, but like Sean Connery is in the custody of Nicolas Cage. He gets into a car and they go chase him, and like it goes on for a few minutes. And William Goldman's thinking is like, well, obviously Connery gets away. Like they wouldn't spend so much time, you know, on a car chase for it to, you know, not do anything. But as it happens, like, for those of you that have seen The Rock, you know that Nicolas Cage does in fact catch Sean Connery, and they're literally right back where they started. And of course, like that for him, that was the revelation that like they've just entered a different world of, they've just kind of entered a different world of filmmaking. Which for those of you that I don't want to really, I'm not going to. I don't want to go into too much detail on this, but if you know that and you've seen Marathon Man, I can actually say why William Goldman was particularly annoyed by that, because there's a similar moment which is done beautifully in Marathon Man and actually adds quite a bit more to the moment, in my opinion. But it's one that I like enough, and I found it enough of a surprise that it's one of the few cases where I actually do feel, if you can, avoiding the spoilers a bit better. But for those of you that are okay with old movies, definitely check out Marathon Man. But maybe don't do it before you have a dentist appointment. Anyway, but yeah, so like the thing is that, you know, beyond maybe the odd quirk where, you know, I kind of want to understand how stories work, and so it's hard to turn off the critical. I absolutely love big dumb movies that recognize that they're big dumb movies. I actually get slightly more annoyed when big dumb movies have pretensions to be something other than a big dumb movie. I also happen to like, you know, weird arty movies, right? Like I really like Ingmar Bergman, you know, and I unironically like Arthur Lipsitz's movie. In fact, I recommend people look at Arthur Lipsitz's movies. They are available for free on the National Film Board. Very nice, and 2187 are really great short films that I would, especially if you're Canadian, like definitely recommend checking them out. But and big influences on George Lucas. But yeah, so like, you know, Gears of War absolutely just lodges into a certain part of my brain, and I'm like, I absolutely want this. Like, you know, I want a pink shirt, but that shirt has to be pink because it's stained with the blood of my enemies. Like that, you know, that impulse I definitely feel the same as anyone else. But I actually haven't played that much of Gears of War, having done that digression. Anyways, go to the Paralysis apartment. Well, special favors for politicians. You think you've got any clout there? The Paralysis might seem like decent and down-to-earth folk, not sitting snug in the corpse pocket like the rest, but they're still part of the ruling elite, V. If they got to step over you to get to the top, they won't hesitate. Don't believe even for a second, that they're any different. Shouldn't I see my reflection in here?
V, we're upstairs.
Thanks.
It reminds me a little bit actually of how the Doom, like the Doom packages work. So like in Doom, when there are these like little floating robots where you can get powers, and like you just kind of rip them off their like hinges or whatever, or like you know, if you open something, you like punch it. And apparently, when they were making Gears of War,
It's good to see you again.
Something happened?
Come on. Jeff will explain everything. He's just about done prepping for the debate. I've rescheduled all his meetings out of the office today. The office meaning here, so nobody will bother us.
Mike, we're talking about the
bother us
cornerstone of
doing
my
what exactly?
platform. I'm not doing a
You'll
U-turn
know
just
in a
because
minute.
Night Court. No, I'm not sucking anyone's dick just so they can fuck me in the ass! Look, I gotta go. Make the amendments, we'll powwow later.
I hear Carney said the same thing before his debate.
V, glad you could make it.
Jefferson?
Grab a seat, please. I'll explain why I asked you to come over. We've had a break-in. Not the usual kind, though.
So unusual how?
A couple of days back, dead of night, something wakes me. A noise. I grab my pistol and come out of the bedroom. See a stranger. He looks like he's about to reach for it, so I pull the trigger.
Nail him?
No idea. My head started spinning and I passed out. No trace of him the morning after. I'd like you to find him. Find out what he wanted.
Why me of all people? Wouldn't you rather have a detective look into it?
Prefer to use tried and tested contacts.
Can't blame you.
Former mayor's death? You unraveled that mystery. I trust you'll be able to crack this one as well.
Notify the badges yet?
We don't want any buzz around this. No attention, whatever.
You know. NCPD's full of people who like the occasional stray eddy.
If we reported a break-in, the media descend on us like a swarm of locusts.
No badges. Gotcha.
Of course, we notified SSI about the incident. Our private security.
SSI's pretty small time. Why didn't you go with Arasaka or Militech?
It's what was recommended to us.
On the bright side, we're not dependent on any mega corporations.
Security looking at this? Say anything?
This is where things get a little weird.
They claim there's no sign of a break-in or of a shot being fired.
Security cams didn't record anything. Guard outside didn't see or hear anything.
They suggested Jeff must have had a bad dream.
Convenient answer.
Liz gave security the day off so I could call you in.
What did the intruder look like?
I can't remember much. It was dark. He was wearing some sort of mask. Or was it an implant? Couldn't really get a good look at him.
Elizabeth didn't see him either?
I slept through the whole thing. Election season takes its toll on you.
Said you passed out.
That's right. Just after I fired.
What then?
Nothing. I woke up in bed the next morning. Killer headache to boot.
Any idea how you made it back to your bed?
Nope. None. Elizabeth's at a loss too.
Intruder take anything? Break anything?
Nothing missing.
I haven't noticed any damage either. Jeff must have scared him off before he could do anything.
This, security outfit, SSI. Who are they?
Well, I said they're
Been on the
pretty
market
small.
for the last 15 years. They have clients across the city. If memory serves, they came recommended. An acquaintance. You think SSI might be behind this?
No clue yet. Anyone besides SSI come to mind readily?
Walden Holt? He did kill the last mayor.
And the polls do have him trailing Jeff.
But it could be anyone, really.
Jeff has many enemies, a lot of them powerful. We could sit here naming names all day.
I see.
That's why I called you, V. I need you to find out what the hell's going on.
Anything else you want to tell me? Or think you maybe should?
Nope, that about covered it. Liz?
It seems like everything. It's unlikely we'll learn anything anyway.
Honey, please. I'm sure Veal turns something up. So, you got all you need for now?
Wouldn't mind taking a look around the apartment.
Of course. Liz can give you the tour. Gotta run to a meeting. As soon as you learn anything, let me know.
Evening, Vanguard Master. But yeah, so Revive Snow, one of the things that
Come on. Let me show you around.
Right behind you.
We can start where Jeff spotted our uninvited guest.
Sorry, guess I'm waiting for the end of the tour.
I have to admit, sometimes I get fed up with all of this.
Politics?
So far, we've managed to effectively turn down offers to work with Night Corp, Biotechnica, Arasaka.
So far, you say?
If Jeff can get elected without owing anybody, favors or otherwise, that'd be the real victory. Jeff's office. Control room, storage, and flea market crammed into one. This is where Jeff saw our intruder.
And fired at him here.
Right after walking out of the bedroom. At least that's how he remembers it.
Bullet holes. Caulked up. Someone tried to patch up the bullet holes. Assuming neither of you had anything to do with this.
No, of course not.
Which I'm assuming explains why the screen's malfunctioning.
Vote for Perales.
We're paying the staffers and for the campaign out of pocket. And we keep all the campaign stuff here. It's cheaper that way.
Tight bites. You and Jeff must be putting in serious overtime.
Elections. You don't even have time to think about food, so you just order whatever's quickest. But yes, it's true, Jeff hasn't eaten anything else recently.
Avian Extermination Act. The AEA was adopted by the Night City Council on May the 4th, 2063. Purpose: in the face of increasingly frequent and deadly zootonic disease outbreaks, the City Council has decided that the most effective method for reducing the risk of infection among residents is via the extermination of all avian life within 18 miles of the city limits. See Figure 1. The extermination process will begin on May the 7th, 2063, once the call and selection of tenders for the contract have been completed. See Annex 2.
This is Jeff's personal machine. I doubt you'll find anything on it relating to the break-in.
Seems a happy fam. That your daughter?
Sachi. Oh, we miss her. Her studies took her abroad.
Huh, where to?
Europe. An excellent school. She'll get a good education. I know it's an ocean away, but with Jeff running for mayor, it's just safer this way. This is where we sleep.
Wedding pic. Interesting backdrop.
I wanted blue roses, so we ordered a whole truckload.
Blue roses. What, you sure? 'Cause the roses in this picture look pretty red to me.
Oh, of course, you're right. They didn't have blue roses, I forgot.
Notice anything different in here after the break-in?
No, I don't think so. What do you have in mind?
Jeff said he passed out. Anything seem out of the ordinary? The bedding, its arrangement? Any signs at all?
As if he was dragged back to bed, you mean? No, I didn't notice anything.
Mind if I take a look around?
Be my guest.
Iron. This Jeff's?
Mine, actually. But yes, that's the one Jeff used that night.
Bloodstains. Not quite scrubbed clean. Where's the blood from? It yours?
I'm 100% sure it's not ours. Maybe the intruders?
Probably.
It says follow the blood trail, but I don't see the blood trail. Oh, there we go.
Broken.
It was fine a couple days ago. We rarely use it, though.
What was that?
No fucking clue. Felt kinda good, but weird. Like tripping on acid.
Does that happen to the screen a lot? Or to any of the others?
I don't understand.
What just happened a second ago? You didn't see it?
No? What?
Okay, never mind. Why is this door concealed?
Where? There's no door here.
Scanner's showing something different.
Wait. You mean here?
Right here. It's closed. Previous owners leftover, maybe?
No. Open it. Somehow, please.
So I'm slightly curious if there's a...
Maybe it's worth checking their office downstairs.
I was curious if there was an option other than forcing. Oh wait, there was an option. Sorry, I didn't even see what the optional item was.
I think we're safe putting your security at the top of our list of suspects.
They violated our privacy. Sons of bitches! Under my own roof!
Ever noticed anything out of the ordinary? Suspicious?
That they're violating our trust? Watching our every move? That they'd concealed a goddamn secret room full of spy stuff in our own apartment?
So you didn't notice. Okay. Wonder how long they've been keeping this from you.
Too long. This ends now. I'm not letting any more of those freaks set foot! Ugh. My head.
Something wrong?
Don't worry about me. Do what you have to do.
his meds. Intruder make a beeline here after Jeff tagged him.
Talking to yourself again?
More and more. Ever since this terrorist started stalking me.
Sorry, just 1 minute. All right, sorry about that. Report Operation Condon, entry 0987, Field Agent Blue 87G to Field Agent Blue 03A. Typical behavior of the target exceeds acceptable variation range. Alpha has started using stimulants, most likely due to heightened stress induced by recent events. I hereby authorize amplification of neural dampening. Field Agent 87G to Blue 3A. Despite objections from Security Chief Wallace, Subject Alpha has contracted the services of a local mercenary. This qualifies as extreme deviation from acceptable behavior and brings Alpha's overall stability into question. Emergency maintenance requested. Requesting maintenance. Request to proceed with Operation Condon. Target Alpha has been approved. A joint maneuver will be conducted with Team Orange. Mercenary contracted by Alpha has appeared on site. Field agents from Tier Orange have successfully avoided contact. Orange reports that Mercenary does not pose any threat to the operation. And suspension of Operation Condon. An extreme behavioral deviation occurred while conducting planned maintenance procedures. Field Agent Blue 66M was severely injured by Target Alpha and evacuated by Teams Orange and Black. Operation Suspension Protocol has been initiated and only Team Orange is to remain on site. Team Black will continue observation until normal operations can be resumed, which will not occur before the audit and report summary from Team Blue. I needed that. Take good care of Scorpion's things, okay? Don't want them ending up in some seedy pawn shop. Okay, so which of these is the strange computer? But anyway, sorry, this is the thing I was meaning to say to Revive Snow and anybody, I suppose, interested in yeah, well, that's not the strange computer. I guess anybody interested in Gears of War, but apparently there was like a conscious decision made to like every decision was related, like how do we make the character a badass? So, you know, you just don't open a container, like you kick it open or you chainsaw it open or whatever. I think you like kick them open in the game, but apparently that was a very conscious decision on the part of the game and its overall design. Oh, here we go.
Weird hardware. What's it for?
Connected to the wall-mounted screens. Wonder where else these cables run.
You're right, V. It's good being back with your people. In NC, I felt like the loneliest person in the world. I'd rather be in the company of that stubborn ass. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, I think he's loosened up a bit. He's starting to realize he doesn't have to be the only voice around the campfire. It'll do us all some good. Family gatherings were never really my jam, but still, I'm happy you all are happy. So it's official, Panam's a bright again. Still doesn't really hit me yet. I'm still giving myself a trial period. You can't expect everything right from the start, but I feel like things are taking a turn for the better. You sure? No harm in thinking it over. Life of a lone wolf doesn't always end well. In any case, there's always a place for you with the Aldecaldos. Anyway, I have to go before they get drunk off their asses and start another race. Take care, V.
Odd. Tech's practically prehistoric, but it doesn't look older than a day.
Saw something like this back in the war. Transmitters. Militech was using them. Short-range UHF. Signal only travels line of sight, but it can't be intercepted.
Line of sight. Let's look around, see if we can't spot where our receiver's camping out.
I'm pretty sure the game already showed me.
Got a vision on the receiver. Black van parked next to it. Gotta be our winner. Transmitters within reach of our mystery van. Wonder if Elizabeth has ever seen the car. There's a transmitter on the roof. It seems to be conveying a signal to a van out front. You know who it might be?
We never set up any transmitter. And I don't know a thing about any van, but my guess is it's SSI's.
Could be. Tech they're using seems unconventional, though.
Do you plan to check it?
Yeah, about to pay them a personal visit.
I'll wait here. Just don't tell Jeff anything for now, okay?
Sure, whatever. I'll call him once I know something more substantial.
That's fine. Just remember it's the busiest time for Jeff right now. You can always come and talk to me.
Fine. I'll keep that in mind.
Sorry for the silence, but I know there's quite a bit of dialogue on that one. We should be able to chat a little bit more inside of this one. It's actually kind of funny because I do rather like some of the more detective-oriented ones. Like, the combat's fine. It's just, it's nice to have the variety. And then I do also think the fact that you have all of these, like the fact that you've got these augments, and specifically ones that allow you to see things like, you know, partially cleaned up blood. So something that's not visible to the naked eye.
Take the wheels, V. That van could give us the slip any second.
Yeah, like the fact that you can do something with your augmented eyes other than like get better targeting of enemies, I think is neat. And you know, it's, I always think it's worth mentioning, like, you could, if you wanted to make a, you know, if you wanted to make an environment in which you just solve all your problems by shooting, I sort of feel like you know, you don't necessarily have to, you don't need a property like Cyberpunk 2070, or well 2020 at the time, I guess. You know, it's sufficient to
We're about to find out.
Well, that didn't go as planned.
Gonna lose him if you don't pick up
now
the pace.
You're interested.
We could expose a Corpo conspiracy here, V. I'm telling you. They could be Corpo's spies, or who the fuck knows what. Politicians and see a curated display, but behind the scenes it's all-out war. Citizens don't choose their representatives.
Then who?
The key players, string pullers. They spy on all the paralysis, look for weak spots, blackmail, rig elections.
Shit. They're taking us into Northside. This can't end well, Johnny.
I'm very subtle in my pursuit.
All units in the area, order has been restored. All units instructed to return to patrol.
Yeah, so basically when you have like a property that you've kind of paid for the rights for, you can make whatever game you want, but like I guess, you know, role-playing setting like this, probably if you're only limited to telling stories that you know, that are okay, you know, find 5 different ways to shoot the enemy or whatever. You know, again, like it's fine. And, you know, not every property, let's say, is going to merit like some very, I don't know, kind of a more reflective tone, right? So, you know, if you have a Warhammer 40K game, you have lots of different genres for it, but it's like, it's military science fiction. So if there isn't some sort of firefight at some point, you know, there's probably someone's made a mistake at some point. Whereas, I don't know, if you're making a game in the cyberpunk setting, you know, there are megacorps running around, and there is, you know, very wide wealth inequality. And you have characters who sort of have rejected the system that they're in. They don't necessarily want to be, they you know, they don't like the comfort that comes from a stereotypical, you know, corporate job, and instead accept a very, you know, dangerous life, but one of freedom, right? And this kind of comes back to the, you know, the neuromancer ideas. You know, in this case, it's probably not surprising that you've got, you know, a certain affection for the hacker character when you have writers who, like, you know, a character that operates quite literally in the world of ideas. Sure, it's maybe not so surprising that writers are going to like characters like that. Sorry, I think I made a boneheaded move here. Okay. And I don't have a 55, so I've really done it. So yeah, I mean, again, if you want to make it a completely mindless shooter, you are well within your rights and power to do so, as long as, you know, you pay the fee. This may be a waste of the property if you don't do something with the material. I'm assuming that I've pinged... Nope, not all of them. Okay. It actually reminds me a little bit of something that one of the writers said about Subnautica, which was basically, it's like, you know, there are more interesting things you can do with fish than eat them, which I think is actually not a bad description about what makes Subnautica pretty interesting. Although you do also get to eat the fish. So yeah, likewise, you know, if you want to make a science fiction shooter game, you absolutely can, but that game doesn't necessarily have to be Cyberpunk. And likewise, if you do make a game like Cyberpunk, you have lots of opportunities to do interesting things, while still having it be a very combat-driven game. So it's why, you know, in this specific instance, it's the little investigations that you get to do. It's one of the things I personally appreciate about it. Yikes. Let's see if I can get away with this.
What the hell?
Oh, come on.
This is gonna be fun!
Too late. Oh, no, it was enough though. This problem will solve itself in a minute. Is all of Games Workshop stuff in a grimdark setting? The fantasy stuff isn't, and they also have a license for the Lord of the Rings setting, but I mean, obviously that's not theirs. Hidden user, we need unrestricted movement, but there's some excess baggage slowing us down. Can we take care of it? Double the going rate and we'll talk. Fine, sending you the coordinates. Take the baggage, blow it to smithereens, and make it disappear. We don't want this coming back to us, understand? When I end something, it stays that way. At some point they did. I think they still do. Yeah, so as far as I can tell, there are like 3 main miniature war games that they run. One Lord of the Rings one Fantasy Battles, one fantasy one, and then one. Huh. There's more people here than I thought. But yeah, so I don't know that much about the Age of Sigmar setting. But it definitely seems like it... Actually, I think some people have said that it's a... it's actually supposed to be quite an interesting fantasy setting. I know there was some... I think there was probably some resistance to it originally, just because they introduced sort of this end times... this end times event for fantasy battles, and so I think probably there's this perception, you know, if they're taking away the toys, and I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, there's different editions of books, right? So it could be that the initial rules just weren't that good, but there does seem to have been a sort of a reevaluation of the game. But for me, like, in terms of at least what I know about Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which is probably the Games Workshop property I'm most familiar with, it's definitely not... It's not all positive. Like, you still have sort of this fight against good and evil, and because there is this end times event in which, you know, the world of Warhammer Fantasy Battles is destroyed, you know, like, it does seem like kind of chaos does win out in the end in some case. And like, there's definitely some unpleasant stuff, like, you know, the Skaven, the Dark Elves, like all of the forces of darkness are like really bad, really mean. But on the other hand, it's not like... Warhammer 40k is just this unrelenting and like industrial scale misery in a way that just does not, like, fantasy battles can't possibly compare. But yeah, so far as I can tell, Age of Sigmar, you know, has that variety in it in a way that... And sorry, I don't want to suggest that I maybe don't want to suggest that, like, 40k has only one note. Like, I don't know. It's... I feel if I were to imply that that 40k was like just one note, like, yeah, it's... Grimdark is kind of a subject ripe for parody for a reason, right? But I maybe not... I think it would be unfair to just sort of say that there isn't an opportunity for a lot of interesting storytelling in the Grimdark setting. I mean, they sell a lot of books, right? But I would say that probably if you're... Like, it wouldn't feel weird to have a more humorous kind of story in... set in Warhammer Fantasy Battles or Age of Sigmar. Whereas, like, jokey Warhammer 40k stuff probably would feel more like a meme rather than something something directly in the setting. Although obviously individual... I mean, I suspect individual characters with sense of humor are wonderful to have that really depressing ending for them. So... $40k has 3 notes. Actually, I'm trying to remember. I was listening to some podcast recently. People have been very nice in recommending lots of podcasts to me lately, but it's funny that it's kind of like games that rely on video tutorials to teach you the game, or software that relies on video tutorials to teach you how it works. Like, I actually really dislike them because I don't find video the most effective way to transmit information. If I have a manual, I can scan it. If I have a video, maybe I can change the speed at which it's delivered, but then my answer is like, just say half as much, right? If I need to double the speed, then maybe there's a problem here. So again, I'm appreciative of the podcast. Generally, I like stuff that people recommend, and I listen to it. But I do kind of need to acknowledge, like, I've kind of needed to declare, I've needed to declare podcast bankruptcy. I'm definitely going to start pruning some of it. But anyways, on this one, I don't think I got a whole lot out of the discussion, but they made a comparison. I didn't actually realize this in terms of the order in which Tolkien wrote this stuff. And apparently he has denied it, but apparently some people have a view of The Hobbit versus Lord of the Rings as reflecting the fact that one was sort of closer to World War I or after World War I, and then the other was, influenced by World War II. And, so The Hobbit, being the earlier one, is much more focused on sort of peace and not fighting. Whereas the second, maybe doesn't quite have the same tone. And again, like, the thing I kind of need to acknowledge is that I think it's actually, I don't think people are lying or being modest or trying to, put people away when they say, this wasn't front and center when I was writing. I actually think usually when people say stuff like that, that's usually true. But what I also know is true is I have a friend who's a writer. They made a reasonably well-regarded game. And in it, one of the legacies that you can choose, right? So you're like building your character in this thing. And you, like, one of the motivations for your character can be like, to find my father's bones, right? So they're lost at sea. And I happen to know this person's biography that their father did in fact go missing over a body. I believe they were like a pilot, and the plane went missing out on some sort of patrol or out over the sea. Body never recovered. Don't know what happened to it. And like, that's one of those things where if you know that in their biography, you're like, well, of course this is about, something that happened to them. Except that they insist this was not top of mind when they wrote that, right? They were very much going for, just some of the usual, like, you're making a game where you're going to be in a boat for a while, and it's going to be a story game, so you want to motivate the character. So why are you going out into this dangerous profession where you may not be coming back? And, in this case, it's, find out what happened to my dad. That seems to be a reasonable motivation that's filled with dramatic possibility. And, they'll say, it's like, in retrospect and looking afterwards, it's hard to see how that couldn't be something that was affecting it. But it's not a conscious effort to try and work through or like write out a specific thing that's happened in real life. So likewise, I kind of imagine that might explain the difference between what Tolkien is said to have said relative to what people are taking out of the works. Where, probably he's doing something, he has an idea in terms of what's driving him to write this sort of stuff and what it's, I guess, quote unquote, about. But, we're all going to create things within a certain context. And so whether or not those preoccupations are sort of front and center consciously in the mind, or if it just sort of seeps into our preoccupations and what we wind up writing, I can sort of think that you kind of realize these things only after the fact. And I can likewise believe that there are authors who maybe don't quite recognize the degree to which those things influence them. And that's, I'm probably not someone you'd hold up as an example for a writer, but at least in the cases where I have been able to pull myself outside of how I'm feeling about something in the given moment, I will definitely say, okay, well, of course this was affecting it. So like, for instance, I didn't realize it at the time, but I remember there was a period when I was working at a bank, which is a really hard period for me professionally. Like it was one where apparently like my career was on a bit of a downward trajectory on that week, because I was apparently quite, it's maybe not right to say difficult to work with, but I was definitely on edge and like hyper focused on things that really didn't seem to matter as much, and just definitely easily irritated by seemingly inconsequential, like pranks or whatever. And then the detail that might be relevant to this would be this was the week after, or actually it's really just a couple of days after I was mugged at knife point. So of course, right, this of course explains why I was, quite uncharacteristic for my usual behavior. But, to me, I didn't think of it that way at the time. To me, it was a bunch of people like annoying me with a bunch of BS and just everything kind of going wrong for a couple of miserable days at work. Now, look, I'll be honest. I think probably the workplace also could have maybe acted with a little more compassion on the thing, because I definitely remember like they were. The unfortunate reality is that someone definitely had it out for me and wanted to make a bigger deal of it. So again, I probably could have behaved in a better way, but I also think when someone is behaving out of character, that's usually a time you ask if everything's okay, rather than, do what you can to make the situation even more unpleasant for them. But whatever. I happen to know that my current employer is very, very happy with me, and I'm not sad to be out of that bank. So it all turned out in the end. But with that in mind, right, I can definitely point to like fictional stuff that I've written, which has that. It's like, okay, so I wasn't thinking of this at the time, but I can very clearly see what influenced these ideas. The thing is, I haven't written anything where people are like, I was Vancouver at the time, Revive Snow. And yeah, there was definitely a time where it was not good to be at SkyTrain stations past a certain hour. But, I got to get home. And I'm working, late nights. So, yeah, unfortunately, that was, I actually felt really bad about that, because that was at a time I really needed the money. And I had specifically not... There's like a semi-expensive book that I wanted to buy on something of an impulse purchase, and I did actually have quite a bit of cash on me. I was like, it's you can't live like a monk all the time, right? Like, maybe I can get this special thing for myself. And they said, it's like, yeah, but do you really need it? You never know when you're gonna need that money. And of course, having made this wonderful, prudent decision, the only thing I succeeded in doing was enriching my mugger. So, the solution to crime is high living. If you don't have any money, they can't steal it from you. But yeah, what am I going to do, right? But yeah, so this is the thing, right? Like none of the creative works that I've written are really the sorts of things that people will say, oh, how did you write that? Where do you get your ideas from, right? People ask that question of people who make like awesome stuff that people want to read. So it doesn't really matter as much that I can identify the the sources for some of the things that I've written that maybe I wasn't consciously aware of. But I think, because I don't necessarily feel it's completely different for people who maybe do it professionally, and because I've been able to, in retrospect, reflect on how I behaved or how I sort of perceived the world quite differently from what was probably actually going on if I'd been outside my little bubble at the time. I do sort of have, I can put together those two threads to sort of get an idea in terms of how authors can write things that, for lack of a better term, are quite obviously about one thing while simultaneously having them insist that this was not top of mind when they were writing a certain thing. And I actually even argue that probably the better stuff comes out of there, because I don't know, I most of the time I read something that is self-conscious about a given topic, it'll be pretty tedious. I can actually give an example of a short story idea that I had that can give could very easily go down that self-conscious path, but I think actually has the potential to be quite interesting. But I am gonna go a little bit further through the game here. Pretentious banality dunked in a sloppy symphonic sauce. Chromatic rock pretender at worst, caricature at best. Okay, sure. Heavy riffs, check. Unique vocal growl, check. Essence of the 60s, check. But all of it gets drowned out in a flood of cliched dark tones that's too much even for even Neo-Kitsch Gen fans to swallow. There's no punch, no curb stomp of edge. Honestly, by the standards of the genre, it's a fucking lullaby. I'd love to put this review to bed, or in an unmarked grave, but I haven't even talked the lyrics. They made me roll my eyes so violently I sprained an optic nerve. Nowhere was it worse than in the titular track, Liberum Arbitrum? I don't know, Vanguard, you're doing the Latin game. You can tell me what that means. The band's anthem about the violations of human free will. What's the enigmatic evil depriving us of what matters most in life? Yep, you guessed it. Corpse! I yawned so loud I put the singer's growl to shame. The latest album from Tainted Overlord is nothing short of a chromatic rock mix you burned a decade ago, erased from memory, then found wedged under your couch next to a dusty Carlson's burger. Diehards of the band will find something to scratch that itch, but anyone else looking for a fresh sound is better off blowing a concussion grenade in a cookware outlet. I don't think I've got the... Oh yeah, there we go. I realize I've taken forever on what should be a relatively straightforward mission, but that's how we do it on the System Shock stream.
Piersted, we're in.
Couldn't ask the NCPD for better records than this.
Pictures, medical records, vulnerability to neuroplasticity. Some kind of database. Brain scans, the paralysis, biological casts, neuroplasticity.
Fuck. What about that? The blue shit.
Fresh neural links. They're not spying on them, Johnny. They're fucking with their heads.
Mean to say someone's literally controlling our upstanding politicians' minds?
Mm-hmm. Red blots are memory residue in the hippocampus region. See how they're bleeding into the blue?
So what are we looking at?
They're planting new memories in their heads, modifying their personalities. This is big shit, Johnny.
Fuck me.
Got other guinea pigs besides the paralysis, too.
Quick, download the data. Whoever comes looking for it, that's your suspect.
Shit. They're wiping the data. We've been made. Now they know someone's been in their database.
Wonder if they also know who.
V, do you have any news?
Okay, you're gonna want to sit down for this. It's way bigger than we thought.
What is?
You're being brainwashed. Literally. They've scanned your minds, now using some kind of conditioning to...
Wait, not on the holo.
Right, I'll come by.
No. You and I, we need to speak alone. I know a little ramen place in Japantown. Sending you the coordinates.
Right. See you there.
Good as new. Maniac. But yeah, I was trying to think while I was talking about it, like in terms of if you were to buy a certain franchise or whatever, would you feel that you were obligated to make a certain type of game? And like, when I think of military science fiction, even then, right, you've got, so like Starship Troopers. Here I'm meaning the, like, Robert Heinlein book, not the movie adaptation, which, as far as I can tell, actually started off as something that was not an adaptation of Starship Troopers. I think just somebody had the rights and made the movie that became apparently an influence on Helldivers. I don't know. It will shock you based on this driving, Vanguard Master, but I don't drive. But yeah, so like the thing is that you can, you know, you could take something like Starship Troopers, the book, and yeah, you're gonna want to have like armies and fighting. There's definitely going to be that in there. You're probably not making a very interesting Starship Troopers game if you don't include that. But you are probably missing the point of Starship Troopers if you think it's just about cool descriptions of space marines.
Will you sit? Please? Thank you for coming.
Why are we meeting here and not at your pad?
Because I have something to confess. In private. Not in front of Jeff.
Okay, confess away.
I'm sorry. My nerves are shot. I can't gather my thoughts.
Relax. No need to
I wanted
rush.
to do the other line.
A while ago, I started noticing some changes in Jeff's behavior. His personality, he seemed to be changing right in front of me. Becoming someone else.
How so?
He stopped reading, forgot the title of his favorite movie. Even his musical taste changed overnight. Once, I said we should visit his brother's grave, and he told me that he'd been an only child. That's when I started thinking something bad was happening. Something insidious. And not just with Jeff.
Notice any changes in yourself?
After some time, on several occasions, my friends pointed out that I was acting strangely.
That must have been hard.
It was. You know, it's at times like those you start to question reality.
So the whole time, you knew what I could end up finding.
I don't know who, how, or why, but they're changing us. That concealed room in our apartment,
What about it?
I'm sure I'd seen it before, but must have somehow forgotten. I find that terrifying.
Mention any of this to Jeff?
I tried. I did. But he's blinded to everything. He just laughed, said I was imagining things. He once brought up a vacation that we never went on. Swear to God. He went on about it in such detail, I almost started believing him.
Could be just you who forgot. Maybe they wiped the trip from your memory.
Hell, I don't know anymore. Don't you get that?
You haven't told me the whole story yet, have you?
I saw a stranger in our apartment one night tinkering with the monitors. But I was in such a state by then that I didn't know if I could trust my own eyes.
So you didn't do anything?
I don't remember what happened. I talked to security the next morning.
Let me guess. Cams didn't pick anything up.
The guy just shrugged and said I must have dreamt it. He showed me the recording, of course. I felt like a lunatic. And then, the next day, I got a call.
Who was it?
Them. Whoever they are. There was a garbled voice on the other end. He never introduced himself.
They threaten you, try to blackmail you.
They said I was walking on thin ice. That if we kept stirring up trouble, Jeff could have an accident. Then they wiped any record of our conversation. It was as if it had never happened. So I'm begging you, V. Jefferson can't find out about any of this. Ever. His life depends on it.
You think if I tell him everything, that he'll go and pick a fight he can't win?
I don't just think, I know. One thing hasn't changed. Jeff's still a fighter.
And he'll go down swinging. Mm-hmm. So how do we play this?
I'm going to tell Jeff that SSI was spying for his rival, Holt. You just need to confirm what I say.
And if I'm not on board?
You have a choice. Just remember, any consequences will not be yours to deal with.
You're truly prepared to fire SSI after the threats. It'd be brave, but risky as all get out.
What they're doing to us is one thing, but when you found that concealed room, I can't accept strangers spying on us while we sleep. Not under my own roof.
What difference does it make where?
I'll take full responsibility for anything SSI goes on to do. I'm just asking you not to get Jefferson involved. I'll add a meeting in Reconciliation Park to Jeff's schedule. He'll be waiting. Since I can't know if I'll remember this conversation tomorrow, I'm counting on you not to forget what I asked of you.
I won't. But that's all I can promise.
Goodbye, V.
Whole thing's fucked up, huh? Wouldn't want to be in her pants. Speaking of, overlapping memories, changing personalities. Remind you of anything? But hey, at least we know what we're up against.
No, this is different. You saw it yourself. They're purposely modifying their minds, individual thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Peralez make a damn nice next-gen puppet. Even in my day, there were whispers about this kind of stuff. Cognitive pattern fluctuators, remote neural re-networking. In layman's terms, gaslighting. The beauty is that everything's fair game. Subliminal TV signals, high-density emitters in your electric toothbrush. You name it.
So, in my pants, what would you do?
Some real rat bastards behind this. Someone's got to take them down.
Even by risking the Peralez's lives.
Fuck knows what kind of shit a mayor controlled by puppet masters could pull. But yeah, you could end up putting their lives at risk. Or not. Tough choice, V.
I do remember in this, I was quite struck by this one just because of how bleak it winds up being, but it is also one of the, I appreciate this story, and I'm kind of curious to see if the game goes in this direction on other occasions, because like the enemy that you're up against in this case, if I recall correctly, you do actually get in touch with them at some point. And it's one of these cases here where most of the stuff that you do in the game, you know, you get to be the hero, you get to fix things. You know, what you say goes, basically. And I mean, there's some stuff you can't stop. So like, you know, Jackie's gonna die, and there's nothing you can do about Jackie dying. He's, you know, he's gonna be. It's basically the only way you wind up with Johnny Silverhand in your head. But for the most part, right, like if you're dealing with police corruption, or, you know, whether or not a bad guy faces justice or whatever, usually the decision's put in your hands, and you kind of get to decide whether or not Night City gets incrementally better by your, you know, act of murder or whatever. Whereas this one, it is absolutely unambiguous that you can't change, like, you can change the severity of the bad that happens, but, you know, in the end, the people behind this are going to get what they want. And then I guess the question really is just the nature of the bad that happens to the paralysis. And I don't know, like, that definitely, to me, feels more consistent in terms of a cyberpunkish kind of story, right? Like, usually the idea here is that the runners are not going to be, they're not going to be the ones to bring about, you know, change. They're not going to be the ones to finally topple Arasaka or something.
Yeah?
It doesn't matter what you tell him. It doesn't matter what you think of doing or do. You can't change anything.
What?
We know who you are. We know what you are. We know what you want. You are playing with fire. Don't dare cross the line.
Fuck.
32 corporations from their income tax obligations. Among them were Kang Tao, Arasaka, more technology, and dialogue.
Only Mr. Stuck can save your marriage.
Hello, V.
Need to talk.
Yes, I know. Elizabeth filled me in. Sounds like I was right to hire a professional.
Elizabeth? What did she tell you exactly?
Didn't get specific. Just that SSI was spying for that son of a bitch Holt. Guess you got more, though.
Strange as it may sound, don't got much.
There's gotta be something. You didn't find any hard evidence?
Well, one thing led to another and some lead was fired.
No shit. Between you and those spies?
Yeah, burned to a crisp in their own van. Managed to squeeze one of them before, he confessed. But his word isn't worth jack now.
Damn. All right. I'll handle things from here.
Meaning?
First, I'm gonna win this damn election. Then, I'll find the motherfucker who spied on us. And if it was Holt, I'll find every last speck of dirt on him and bury him under the heap.
Well then, good luck.
You'll get your fee soon. You already got my gratitude. Goodbye, V.
So, thoughts?
Somehow I doubt it's people who are behind this.
So aliens?
Very funny. You're too young to remember this, but not so long ago, people talked about rogue AIs prowling cyberspace.
So, not aliens.
Doesn't matter who or what. Our guy's outmatched. They can do whatever they want. He's fucked, V.
I am kind of curious how this resolves, based off of the fact that he was making the condition that if he finds something out about Holt, so if he keeps going and finds the truth, then obviously this doesn't seem to end well for him. One thing I do find kind of interesting about the that particular story, I don't know. So, I mean, the idea of it being rogue AI doesn't quite support this one, but I did sort of think there was something interesting in terms of the idea of the politicians being transformed over time. And for some reason, it kind of put me in mind of this phenomena. I don't know how modern this is, like, because this is the one thing, like, you read enough history and then you start thinking of Ecclesiastes, right? Nothing new under the sun. So I'm sure there's been some variation of this, for time immemorial, but I can also think why there are a few there's some unique circumstances based on the way that we sort of structure our media today. But there's kind of this problem of, like, audience capture, and the usual context I'll hear this in will be, it'll be a political one where you'll have, a perfectly reasonable sort of, middle of the road, maybe center left, maybe center right figure, generally sort of known for independent thought, a unique take on something. And what happens, auto theft sounds like NCPD's problem. Not that they'd ever actually do anything about it. Even if this gig is at a badge's request for a chance to chase down a rare gem like a Semimaru, I say that why the fuck not? I smell high-speed thrills coming down the pike with this one. Sign me up. But yeah, so, like, you'll have, a perfectly reasonable, I'll just say influencer for lack of a better term, but, like, usually it's, it's going to be a writer or a television personality of some kind, like, someone who people listen to. And very often what will happen, because they're somewhere in the middle, they will, if I knew where it was, I'd do it. Yeah, because they're, independent-minded, and because they're, not an extremist, they will have, they'll not necessarily just fall into a particular orthodoxy. And so what this does is it leads them to have, a certain group of fans who see them as being in opposition or telling it like it is to that particular form of orthodoxy. And again, it's a multi-partisan issue. I'm not gonna try and give specific examples of individuals, but I'm pretty sure any sufficiently very online person will probably have someone in mind, in terms of where they've seen this phenomenon. But one of the other challenges that comes up, and particularly when we're at a time where, your livelihood may be relying on, say, like a Substack or something like that, you also face this challenge where the source of attention, right, the views, the advertising dollars, the subscriptions, whatever form it takes, comes from a certain type of viewer, like people who want to hear usually some kind of sacred cow of the, whatever side happened to get the attention. Seeing that skewered. And so for some people, what this translates into is that these seemingly sensible and independent-minded people all of a sudden become these very hardcore partisans for a particular... Search for the... Man, I don't know what kind of a car this is.
Curb the enthusiasm, kid.
I don't know if I'm supposed to start shooting or not. God, I'm bad at this.
Get a job. Stop scaring people.
It is slightly hilarious they're caught on whatever they're doing, but...
One good shot and we're done!
I did not appreciate these are bosses. Oh, crap, crap. Yeah, I deserve that. I probably should have paid attention to how much health I was up against. Yeah, so in the case of this kind of... Whoa, what? No, 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 no. I want to do that again. But yeah, so basically the drawback here is that you have someone who stops being the kind of figure that maybe you originally got interested in. And instead, because now there is a sort of source of revenue based on hearing a particular thing, right? It's kind of like the reverse of the YouTube algorithm, where, you know, it's like the Warhammer 40k example. You know, you look at one Warhammer 40k video and all of a sudden... messed up. Okay, do not go fists to mantis blades. Lesson learned. But yeah, so anyways, the reason why I think of that with the paralysis, right, it's, you know, I don't know how well this works in terms of politics, but, you know, there is the difference between the reasons why some people get into politics and then, of course, the realities of what you need to do in order to be elected or, you know, what your constituency expects of you.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
So, you know, obviously in this case here, you've got this malevolent AI, or at least some malevolent force that you have no hope of stopping. But I did kind of think a little bit in terms of how, what kind of mapping I might take to that story. And again, the reason why I don't know, I would be surprised if sort of we're unique. I'd be surprised if we were unique in our particular situation. I'm wondering if I can just cheese it this way. At the very least, I seem to be able to separate them, which is good.
Now that that's over.
Audio transcript, Jax Forgrave and Nova McMaster. Fuck yeah, right out from under the NCPD's ass. Fucking joke, badges ain't shit. Sweet baby Saburo, we ain't ever losing another fucking race with this thing. Choom, this kitten purrs like a dream. No wonder Mint dominated the circuit. Feel like I could drive through a concrete wall. Yo, I hear you, Choom, but remember, we gotta lay low, not draw more heat. Fucking around ain't the plan. No, I get it. This car, it ain't just steel and rubber. It's precise, fast, perfect, alive, in my head. Nova, you good? Better than good. Like I could crush every badge in the city and they won't even, and they can't stop me. Whoa. Listen, lighten up on the chew. Slow down. The fuck you doing? I said slow down. No one can stop me. Huh? What's this creepy ass whispering? Nova? Yo, hello? Fucking talk to me. ARV Q340 Semimaru data log. User entry. New owner Mint. Terrain anomaly detected. Off-road. Traction control error. System alert. Excessive speed. Red line. System warning. Stress fracture detected in rear suspension link. Service recommended. System alert. Excessive speed. Red line. User entry. Torque bias override. Street tune profile Mint custom. System alert, excessive speed, red line, user entry, front stabilizer tweak handles like a dream. System alert, excessive speed, red line. System alert, terrain anomaly detected, off-road, traction control error. System warning, safe engine, temp exceeded, red line. User entry, crystal coat mod, prefit check passed, still requires full install. System event, unauthorized user detected, biometric link Ortiz, NCPD detective badge 7782, ownership change. System event, dashcam storage manually cleared, blackout mode engaged, location tracker suspended, unregistered biometric ID detected, access authorized, collision event, pedestrian detected, collision event, pedestrian detected, collision event, pedestrian detected, unregistered biometric ID detected, access authorized, blackout mode engaged, location tracker suspended, collision event, pedestrian detected, dashcam storage manually cleared, unregistered biometric ID detected, access authorized, unauthorized user detected, biometric link McCaster, Nova, ownership changed. Archive conversation, Jones and Ortiz. Hey, was wondering what's going to happen with the Semimaru. How long are we going to keep it? Just focus on the job. Mint gave us a perfect disguise, but a disguise won't work if you keep blabbing about it. Have I made myself clear? Copy that, but after, I mean, when the job's done. No way we just toss this beauty, right? Jesus, Jones, there is no after. Not with all the rot in this godforsaken city. Look, we pose as Mint, we accept hits on the city's scumbags, we collect payment at dead drops for said hits. Mint takes all the heat while we do our city a favor, not to mention rake in a few eddies for all our hard work. NC's cleaner, no one's the wiser. Now shut the fuck up about it and follow my lead for Christ's sake. Oh, managed to snag the Semimaru. Thieves are out of the picture. Nice work. You find anything? A hunch is spot on. Car used to belong to a street racer named Mint. When she ghosted, NCPD took her ride. Now they use it for crooked cop shit, literally running down peeps they don't like. Fuck, we're supposed to be better than this. We have to be. Always someone who thinks they're above the rules. Can't fix the NCPD in one day, but I can make sure no one uses this car for their shady bullshit anymore. The Semimaru is yours. Belongs to someone who has at least an ounce of integrity. I'll fudge a report to make sure it stays off the NCPD's radar. Oh, Mr. Anti-Corruption is falsifying a report? Some things are too fucked to play by the book, badge or no badge. I know what justice means. When the corrupt write their rulebook, it makes me want to stop playing their game, doesn't it? Glad I can count on you, V. We make a good team. Thanks for the assist. I actually don't remember this mission. Alright, I probably have time for one more. I was debating about doing the meeting with River Ward, but it's not really evening yet, so... Also, let's take some time with the inventory. I also feel like I was long on chatting and low on progress today, but given that I thought at the start I was going to have to cancel the stream. I'll take the mild win where I can. I notice they start you out with the wider view on this one. I thought he was talking to one of the other cars. Alright. This is what I get for trying to pay attention to the map and the street.
Talk? I mean, no longer moment. Can you come by the camp? I have a problem.
On my way.
Phew, thanks. That's good to hear.
Give me a little more intel. What's your grief?
Well, it would be better to...
Let me guess. Saul, right?
You know me well.
Uh-huh. See you soon.
Come on, I want to do the mission I came here for.
Balance keeps Night City alive. Without it, we'd all be at each other's throats. Corps, gangs, mercs, everyone. And where do fixers fit in? If one side starts to get too much power, a fixer can help tip the scales toward the other, discreetly. Think about it. Balance keeps biz from running dry. Anyway, why the lecture, right? Because it's time for a little intervention. Check the attachment.
Ah yes, Gun for Hire. Neutralize Rebecca Price, Data Inc. store in Haywood. I'm guessing you don't follow the stock market, but recently Militech has been lagging behind everyone else. Just stroll around Corpo Plaza and you'll see their HQ abuzz like a hornet's nest. You can tell they're just itching for an excuse to send the armed cavalry into the city. You've got reasonable people telling you not to get under corpse skins, and then you have Rebecca Price, who decides to open a fucking store selling hacked and previously stolen Militech equipment. It's not that I don't value small businesses, on the contrary. It's just that not having the fucking army on the streets is something I value more. Rebecca Price needs to disappear. The how is your call. I won't go into the fine details, and I'm sure you know what to do if any animals get in your way. They, of all creatures, should understand the importance of balance in our delicate little ecosystem.
This trash is older than me. Don's actually come here to buy this shit? Shut your trap, Misha. Got a customer. What? Want something?
You hear me, pendejo?
Got some hefty price tags here.
Price of quality, Chumbada.
Been in biz here long.
Huh?
A lot of years of sales under your belt, it seems.
Yep, no frills kind of place. Most buy something quick or get the fuck out.
What do you sell?
Mr. Manager, the valued customer wants to know what we sell.
What? Oh, some, wires, chips, other electronic shit.
You heard the manager.
Heard you sling some pretty serious tech around here.
Listen, you're gonna shop or you ain't. Here's what we got.
Something tells me this is not representative of their goods. So it seemed to me that trying to attack this...
The moves on this girl. Swoosh, swoosh. Slicing them up like sashimi. Now, a lot of you called and asking what kind of eggs she's packing. Your girl Karina here got a mighty enhanced...
I was just kidding. Some promise here.
Mid-leveled enough with these bad boys. They even throw in their high sensitivity automatic defense reflexes for good measure. But you don't need to be some blue-chip corpo.
Jack Gorky and Logan Garcia. I like a good fight. Question is how much you can take. I got a thick skull and sharp knuckles. If you say so, then it must be true. Choom, you said you don't have anyone to fight. Now you do. What's there to discuss? You know what happens if you lose? Choom? Don't care, because I don't lose. Okay, my people will get in touch. Can't wait. More stuff to JB, Robert Leon to Ben Larkin. We managed to intercept the Militech arms shipments. At the chop shop right now, when things quiet down, we'll bring you the gear so Rebecca can do her thing. How are things over there? Holding up those stores? Holding up in those stores? Yeah, go frick yourself, dude. So, I mean, nice start here, but I don't feel like we're going to get far enough in the building to matter. Nice. Okay, some promise there. Just doing my thing. Doing your thing? Yep. And what's your thing? Does it involve being skezzed out behind the dumpters? I can see you on the fucking cam feeds. What? No, you're supposed to be on the lookout. Make sure no one's trying to fuck us. But I just need a little... The fuck are you taking? It helps me focus. How about I beat your junky ass and maybe that'll help you focus? Don't tell anyone. Fuck, I'm sorry. Charlie, please. You'll pay me and you get your shit together. Yeah, of course. Anything. Oh, come on. Combat gig. Ben, listen, you need to start packing on the double for tomorrow. Our VIP client needs 6 more crates of untraceable MK1 HMG. Handle it, alright? Just use smarter peeps this time, not those gonks who leave their empty beer bottles in crates with goddamn grenades. I want the shipment to be the definition of professional, okay? Take it seriously. Take it seriously. Watch out. List of clients waiting for shipments. We only send jailbroken guns, the kind that can't be traced. VJ Tatum, Jared. Cool. I'm pretty sure that's the... Doing what I can. That's of no concern to me. I want the next shipment by the end of the week, and if I don't get it, don't fucking touch her. Then you'll get another finger. You'll get everything you ordered, please. Good girl. How are my people doing? Are they listening? Yeah, they're helping out. And don't blame me. You brought this on yourself. And maybe not just on yourself. You make up what you owe, and we'll forget this ever happened. Okay, well, I've obviously screwed this one up, so I might as well get the loot out of this. I thought there was maybe a version of this where you're able to sort of negotiate your way through, but... you probably should have checked to see if there was a 55.
Cyber-psycho attacks lately. I think it's time we put an end to our little arrangement. Drop on by sometime. We'll catch up in person.
In case shit happens, if something goes wrong and you need to put your ass in the fifth, then FYI, there are stairs leading out to the trash cans. Make sure your skull sponges absorb that. I repeat, shit happens, back of the store, stairs, trash cans. Simple, right? I mean, it says meet with Regina, but maybe I can finish the mission that I'm on.
Package received. Thank you, V. Keep up the good work. The streets will remember your name.
Cool. Not quite how I was planning on it going, but I won't complain either. All right, so we've got a few people who want to talk to me. Let's maybe finish off Psycho Killer, but that will be for the next stream. I think this is a good enough place to finish, except that I don't know where I left my car. Maybe it's just not there anymore. But yeah, I definitely feel like I've been taking my stupid pills for the last couple of missions, and then I realized I was very chatty about maybe things that didn't need to be dealt with at such great length. I feel this is kind of an occupational hazard with Cyberpunk lately, but I will say I am net happy to be back in this game, but I've also been having a little difficulty finding like quite the same flow that I had doing Phantom Liberty. So I will try to be a little more on the ball on next week's stream. I think one of the big ones for me is I'll try and not let some of the weirdness I'm seeing on OBS. I'm going to try and not have that get in the way of doing a stream. And then, yeah, I don't know. We definitely have quite a bit to get through on the map. So at the very least, I feel like I can... you know, I'll have stuff to go through, and so as a consequence talk about. The only thing is, I know for a couple of these missions here, it was just sort of playing in silence for a little bit, which I'd like to improve on. As far as the rest of the stream goes, I'd say Monday and Wednesdays for the next little while will be XCOM. I've had a great time with it. I really do enjoy that game. So looking forward to more of that. And then, again, at minimum, I'm expecting Fridays can be Cyberpunk 2077. If there's a chance to do something different over, you know, over the course of the week, you know, I'll take it. But I'm thinking at least one XCOM 2 game, at least one Cyberpunk game is not a bad target. But we will deal with that in the future. Let's see who's online. Not much. I think I'll just leave it here because I do know I haven't. I also just haven't. Like, I don't have that much to share anyway. So I'll just wish you all a good night. Have a nice weekend, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.